So it's a big title live up to SDG Man of India. It makes your work easier or harder?
It's the ordinary things that we need to give dignity to and respect. It's not the complex things. Everything is not glitz and glamour.
That brings me to the fact that you made India's first SDG aware school. What does that mean? How is it different from a regular school?
The thing is that I don't think that SDGs can just be taught through a structured lesson plan. It's a way of life.
So kids over there don't only learn from book, they learn to do things for the environment.
What we're trying to do in St. Paul's is when you come into the campus, it's the quality of life at the St. Paul's campus that relates the story of SDGs. Because I felt that unless and until we have a foundation of education, we cannot do anything. While I was trying to carry out goal number 4, I didn't realize that I was also addressing poverty. So one goal always leads into another one.
Yeah, because every time I step out, I only see pollution and traffic everywhere. It makes me wonder that a city like Delhi, so big and polluted, how can it ever be sustainable?
I don't think the size of the city matters. It's the heart of the city that matters.
We often think the future will be built by scientists or politicians. But what if I told you the future is actually being built by students? We always hear about maths and science being important. But what about kindness, equality, and sustainability? These are life lessons schools don't always teach us. Yet, they decide our future. Hi everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Classroom with Yuven. Today's episode is very special because we're going to be talking about something that not only affects me or you, but the whole world. Our guest today is someone who's called the SDG Man of India. He's a writer, an education innovator, and the founder of House of Zach. He's transformed schools and is now working on creating India's first SDG-aware city. Please welcome Mr. Amreesh Andrew Chandra. Hi sir, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you.
So the question I want to start off with is, how do SDGs connect with our everyday life, and which one do you think kids my age connect with the most, and why?
So there are two ways to put this across. One is that sustainability was a larger chapter
Yeah.
before, let's say, this was taken by the United Nations, and it was deliberately broken into 17 components.
Yeah.
And each component is not that it didn't exist earlier, but they just, let's say, arranged the platter for us. And each goal is related to our everyday life, no matter how you look at it. It could be personally affecting you. It could be personally affecting society. You could see somebody that is struggling with food. You could see somebody, and that could be hunger. You could see somebody that is struggling with poverty, and that could be related to poverty. You could see somebody going to school. It could be goal number 4. You could see the glaciers melting and read about it in the news, and that would be climate change. So everything that you know of, that you see, from morning to evening, has been put into these 17 components. So they do affect our everyday life. We do a lot of good, let's say, ways of how we could bring children of your age. You said, what did you say? Your
Kids my age connect with the most.
Yes, your age
Can connect with the most.
can connect with the most. So the way that we do it is, let's say, what's your age and what's your class. Now, because each class, because in a school you only have 12 classes because you have grade 12. So if we look at it, what we do usually is that depending on the class that the child is, we ask them to contribute towards that. So if it's somebody in grade 4, we'll ask that entire class, section 4AB, 4AC, 4AD, to contribute towards goal number 4. This is what we do at St. Paul's in Gorakhpur. And each of those would have activities that have code red, because that is the color of goal number 4.
Yeah.
So if you ask me, I could say you could choose a goal that is as per your class and choose a relevant goal to that, because there's nothing that you can't contribute to in some way or the other, but there is certain things that you can specifically contribute, or even, let's say, a child much younger to you can, when he decides to switch off a light before he leaves the room.
Energy saving.
The moment he does it, he has saved some bit of it. The moment a child, even in grade 2, who stands up on a stool on a basin in his bathroom at home decides that he will not allow the water to run, he has also contributed towards nature. So I don't think there's a specific goal that I'd say that you can do at your age, but you can choose a relevant goal as per your age or your class or the most easily accessible. But if you're walking across the street and you pick up a litter and put it to a bin, you have again contributed to it. So the idea is how consciously aware a child is at what age.
Yeah.
Now, a child in grade 1 will be not as conscious as you are. A child in grade 12 would be more conscious than what you are. So he could probably refer and contribute more towards a more
Yeah.
complex goal, right? So this is how I would decide that children should choose a goal as per the age or class
Understanding.
and contribute to it.
Yeah. So moving on to the next question, that I once heard your TED talk and loved your line, find dignity and respect in the ordinary. That really stayed with me. Can you tell me 5 ordinary things in our everyday life which actually have extraordinary value for our generation?
See, I don't think that there's nothing out of the 17 that we do not contribute that does not have uh, an immense impact on the world for tomorrow, right? If I just talk about the fact that had we taken care of Mother planet or nature 10 years ago, we'd probably, or 20 years ago, we probably would not need to define
Yeah.
SDGs,
Right.
right? So so the idea here is that everything that you do, again, this comes back to age. 5 things that I tell you could be relevant to where you are in your conscious awareness level of education and age. 5 things that I tell somebody else could be different. But in St. Paul's, we did something very easy. We said we had a goal of 3 things that we chose, the 3 easiest things that any child could do. And that was towards conservation of resources that we had, because none of the resources are umpteen in number. So I think that the 3 more simplest exercises, that's why I said it's the ordinary things that we need to give dignity to and respect. It's not the complex things. Everything is not glitz and glamour. But a simple thing is, this morning when I was leaving, I would usually earlier put the iron on to iron my clothes. Now that's a practice that I do since I was in school.
Yeah.
And I would let it warm and let it, put the switch on, and then I would iron my first cloth, and then so on and so forth. I would look for my second trouser or shirt and look for it, come back while the iron is still on. Because I have become conscious here, I know that once I've done with one trouser, and I have to go to the next room to get my shirt back,
Close iron.
I am going to switch the iron off.
Yeah.
So it's very simple things that we do, but believe me, I think running water and switching off, the lights as you leave, or the fans, or the air conditioners, or even the ignition at a traffic light, are certain things that are very, very simple to do. So if you're sitting in a car and you're a conscious child, and maybe your driver or somebody who's driving you still has the engine on,
Yeah.
you being aware could tell them,
Tell them
dad,
not to do it.
uncle, brother, or your driver bhaiya, that switch the ignition off.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. The other very important thing I must tell you is, most of you go to cinema halls, and most of you have popcorn. If you see the litter in a cinema hall, and now connected to Indigo, have you flown Indigo?
Yeah.
I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
They are the people that brought the practice that instead of a truckload of people coming into the aircraft and cleaning it, right? If everybody could be responsible not
your
to
own
litter and to put it in a blue bag that they walk across the aisle, it would make it easier. And so what they did was, they made you conscious that before you leave this, it is clean enough for somebody else to come and sit. So these are some basic. What are these? Are
Basic
very
practices.
basic things. I mean, you do it at home, right? If you do, you wouldn't settle your room. Your mother will come and tell you. These are things that I did when I was a child. You were doing it, and many generations thereafter. So it is respect and dignity to the very basic, ordinary things that we do. And of course, saying no to plastic is a big one.
Yeah. That brings me to the fact that you made India's first STG aware school. Like, what does that mean? How is it different from a regular school?
So coming back to the Indigo example, right? What they did was they made us aware. What did they make us aware of? That there's somebody that's going to come on that 12B seat after you've left who would find it neat and clean to sit, like you would have wanted when
Yeah.
somebody sat on the seat before you came in. Consciousness and awareness is very important. Now, this connects to the United Nations and the various levels that they have. Level 0 is basically where they say you need to be aware before you become compliant, right? Becoming compliant is a long task, but before that, you need to be told that this is, and be aware that this is what it is. So what we decided was that at St. Paul's, if you were to come and see a campus, right from the time that the gate opens and you go, the first thing that you go to is to the parents' lounge. From there, you would go to the administrative building, which is the office. From there, there would be a corridor that would lead you to various classes. If you leave the classes, the other three aspects that you would go to is the play area, the various courts, the basketball courts, and so on and so forth, the washrooms, and the library and the labs. Right. So these are the basic aspects of a school.
Yeah.
Now, I'm talking about a day school, not a boarding school. And the other aspect would be that children would come in school buses. So these are the 6 points of focus in a campus. And why is it different and how is it different than other schools? Is if you walk into St. Paul's, right from the time the gate opens, you will find a relevant logo and explanation of an SDG goal that it represents. So if you go to, let's say, our founder director's office, who's my mother, and she always was into resolution or resolving problems between students or prefects or seniors and juniors and so on. So that office it has the big goal 16 over it, because peace, justice is there that happens. So everybody knows that for that it represents that aspect, that activity that happens in that office. If you were to go to the water tank where children drink, it would talk about, or the washroom, it would talk about sanitation.
Clean water and sanitation.
Absolutely, right. So that logo would be there, the entire wall would be blue. If you were to go into the corridors, schools are always known by corridors because they join classes, right? Each corridor, so the first 17 would have all the 17 logos, Hindi on one side, English on the other side. So that every time a child walks through that corridor, those logos, those descriptions tell you by default, maybe you'll miss the first day, maybe you'll miss the second day, maybe the third day, but over a year of time, and when you graduate from one class to the other, you will start understanding what this is.
More about it. Yeah.
So this is the difference in St. Paul, that these 6 focal points, including the buses that carry the logos behind on the doors of each as you enter the school bus and inside, to the water tank. So if you go to the lawn tennis court, it'll talk about green sports, and it'll connect to some goal that it represents. So that's the difference between St. Paul's and any other school, that we have understood to use the abundance of the infrastructure that school has to become a big billboard of every goal, so that even if a parent is waiting in the lounge or depositing a fee or standing across the teacher and meeting her for a parent-teacher meeting, the goals keep hitting on them, telling them there's something, they read about it, they ask about it, they inquire about it. And so every time somebody comes into a campus, we have made a new bunch of people aware of what SDGs are. So that's why we took this initiative, and therefore we are the only SDG aware school that exists. And we're, of course, trying to imbibe this practice in other
Other schools.
institutions for how they could use their abundance of infrastructure.
So kids over there don't only learn from books; they learn to do things for the environment.
It's a very good question. So the thing is that I don't think that SDGs can just be taught
From the books.
through a structured lesson plan, right? It's a way of life. If I'm telling you that you need to switch, again, I'm coming back to this because it's the most common thing to use. If I say that you need to be conscious of switching off the lights before you leave the room, it is a way of life. It's not that it can be just taught. So SDGs are the way of life. It tells you how to lead life consciously and being aware. So, what we're trying to do in St. Paul's is when you come into the campus, it's the quality of life at the St. Paul's campus that relates the story of SDGs, not a lesson plan. But we have a lesson plan that reinforces it, doesn't lead it, but reinforces it, right?
Yeah.
So that's how we do it. They've seen it. Now they have a query. What is this for? That then goes into the classroom, and that is then explained there. So it's a way of life, cannot only be taught by through a lesson plan.
Yeah. So how can a city like Delhi, considering it's so big and polluted, ever be sustainable?
Yes, it'll be difficult for any country, be it Delhi, be it New York, be it Toronto, be it any city. I don't think the size of the city matters. It's the heart of the city that matters. If a consensus is taken by the mayor and the decision makers of the city that they want to make a change, they can. So look at Aligarh, for example. I think it was about 2 years ago that Aligarh was, I think, appointed as the cleanest city in the state of UP. Now, Aligarh is a huge city. It's a much bigger city than Gorakhpur. But they achieved it because they drove that consciousness and awareness in everything that they did. They
Yeah.
drove it. There are other cities that are the most greenest cities in India. Again, so I think that it's not the size, the complexity, or the geographical location of a city that makes it possible to become an SDG of a city. Not,
Yeah.
it's the heart of the city, which comes from the core decision makers that decide on the life and the betterment of the city.
I read that you were working to create India's first SDG aware city in Gorakhpur. That is, it personally, I think it's something from the future. And so I want to know what the city will look like and how can it be SDG aware.
So this is because so if you know, Davos is a very famous venue where lots of international dialogues happen on economic reforms. Nobody knew of Davos, and you may not have heard of it, but the question is that it became a place of dialogue. So we thought, what if, because we have such a lot of work that we do on sustainability in the city of Gorakhpur, why not talk about all that we do in sustainability in the city of Gorakhpur? Because it's not important that all important dialogues happen in Delhi, Bombay, and Bangalore, right? India doesn't
Yeah.
stay in three cities. So we felt that if we were to create a Davos out of Gorakhpur, we needed to make the city aware. And therefore, we went across lots of things that we've done in the past couple of years that have, I feel, created an SDG aware a bunch of people that are sustainable. Now, how do we convert a city? It's fairly easy. You take into consideration all the stakeholders, right? So in Hindi, what is known as the Vyapar Mandal. This committee owns all the businesses in a town. So let's say I've got to go to the Vyapar Mandal and tell them that all the hoardings that you have, you can have all the hoardings, but each of your businesses would represent something or the other. And you would use it. So, for example, schools, right? What if every hoarding of the school on the right hand side part of it has the SDG ring and has goal number 4? Now, for the first time, you'll see a school hoarding and you see this, that there is a new logo there and it's going to create an awareness for you as to what this is. So if every business owner connected to the SDG goal that he or she represents or wants to represent carries that in a space in all the editorials, a full page ad on a jewelry store talks about, because the maximum number of people that are in a jewelry store are females. So what if they talk about women empowerment?
Gender
And that,
equality.
and gender equality, and that logo is represented by all jewelry brands in the city of Gorakhpur. So we have a lake in Gorakhpur. So what if the promenade around the lake talks about nature and water conservation and so on and so forth?
Life below water.
Right.
Yeah.
So the thing is that there are so many aspects in the city of Gorakhpur that we could very easily. So where we're working is that we speaking to each of the stakeholders, and we're saying, why can't we? Why can't you become a part of this awareness program and carry this logo on your packaging, on your gift bags, on the sweets that you give out for Diwali, on the holy colors that you use? So the entire city starts talking about
SDGs.
SDGs. If you go to America and you see the number plates of cars, I forget what Chicago is, but under with every city, it will say what that city or the state represents. So I don't remember it correctly, but let's say it's the state of Illinois, and the city is mentioned there. It could say the city of winds and breezes. So, just an example. So, for example, so what it does, it's talking about what that place represents. So, if we were to get into license plates
We could do the same for SDGs.
that says, it's UP53 is the tag for the number plates in city of Gorakhpur, and it says hashtag SDG aware city of India. So you are there carrying the message. So the way that we want to do it, our dream is to make it the first SDG aware city of the world, not only India, and where every stakeholder, education houses, cinema houses, police stations, government offices, the passport office in the city, the airport, all of these talk about the awareness of SDGs. And there are very famous temples in the city of Gorakhpur where we're starting the campaign to make sure that there's no use of plastic. So this is the way you make the entire community participant in becoming SDG aware. And because you aspire, so see, if you remember how when countries bid to host the Olympics,
Yeah.
all countries bid for it. And when somebody wins the bid that they would host the Olympics, there's a huge celebration because there is an aspiration that they work towards getting the baton to host the next Olympics. So the idea is to mobilize the entire city through the big Gorakhpur Mahotsav that we have to aspire to hold the baton and the flag for the first and the only SDG aware city of the world. So it's through aspiration.
Yeah. So you mentioned police stations while you were talking. So I read somewhere that you worked with police stations to make them SDG aware. What does a SDG aware police station mean?
So, police stations are areas, every area has a police station. The area that we come under as St. Paul's in Gorakhpur is a station known as Gularia. Uh, so, what we did was that because there's so many people that come into a police station for complaints, for grievances, for so on and so forth, right? So we thought, what if they started their buildings, their PCR vans, their station officer offices, their walls, their barracks also talk about the
SDGs.
SDGs like we do at St. Paul's. Of course, we had to be careful that they are in Hindi and in English both. So it would address such a large audience. So this is what we did. But what we did was that on every Friday or Saturday, uh, before we put these logos on the wall, we had to first tell them what this was because they didn't know. Uh, so then we chose from the SDG circle of students and teachers that we have at St. Paul's. We chose them and we sent them out to address the entire police station of what these SDGs goals were. What are the 17 goals? Why were they made? And how can they play a vital role in all the people that come in to the
Yeah.
Thana and do that? So we did that, and when we achieved that, we unveiled the police station with the top police officers there that all came participant to that. So that is now probably the first SDG where I don't know if there's any other ones that exist in India, but I strongly feel that that's the only police station that is an SDG away police
Very
station.
thoughtful idea that people call you the SCG Man of India, but titles like these, do they push you to do something better and bigger to live up to it?
Uh, I mean, this has been a very passionate journey for me. It began in 2018 when we first launched something in the House of Lords in the British Parliament. And it's just been a passionate journey since then to build up the larger understanding of the SDGs. So I don't think ever the idea was to achieve for the enterprise or for myself a title or an office. But once that does come to you, for example, if you were made a monitor in your class or a prefect in your school, it does come with a responsibility, right? So you do become more responsible. And I think it's only made me more conscious, more aware of what I would do or not do that should represent the idea or the broader idea of sustainable development goals.
So it's a big title to live up to SCG Man of India. It makes your work easier or harder?
Well, I think it doesn't push the passion because the passion is already there. But as I said, it makes you conscious. And what led for me to believe is that every student like you bears a lot of holds a lot of offices in a school. It could be in a house, it could be in a competition, it could be bus prefects and bus monitors and so on and so forth. So what it led to me when this happened to me is that I wanted to create a platform. So you've heard of so many heads of state coming together for one project, for one discussion, for the SDG goals, right? Have you ever heard of a conclave, a green conclave, where only head boys and head girls of all the schools in India come? Probably not.
No.
So this SDG Man of India thing led me to think that I must create an aspirational platform where school heads, school boys, girls, monitors, prefects could all come together and deliberate on the best practices or the
Yeah.
good practices or the green practices for a greener tomorrow.
So, coming on to the next question, what's the most inspiring project you've seen a child or a student do that made you feel that, yes, this is the future? And that, yeah.
I don't think I've seen a project per se, but and not because I'm on your podcast, but let's say I'm inspired with what you're doing. And now for you, it may be a project, it may be your passion of doing a podcast like this. It was, let's say, a branch of something that your school excited you to do. You became aware of it and you wanted to spread the word. So I don't think that I've actually seen a project per se. I mean, there could be a science project that was a green project, but that's a different thing. But when I talk about SDGs, as I said earlier, I don't talk about a lesson plan approach. I talk about a passionate approach. So I think I would give that lead to you, as I said, not because I'm on your podcast, but I think this is a kind of thing, an endeavor or a good practice or a
Thank you.
project that I would want people to take up. And there's so much that a child could do.
So, sometimes I feel like kids don't have a say in big issues like climate change or poverty. What can kids do today to know that they actually have made a difference?
The most underutilized force for creating awareness on SDGs is the student force. We did a project known as Canvas in the United Kingdom, which was for students from universities. But if you look at the students and the impact that you can make while you're in school and beyond, you can only make a difference beyond when you've actually picked it up and learned it during your school days, right? So I think there is a lot that can be contributed. Age in not defining it, but of course awareness. Your awareness will come with the age that you are in. But I think there's a lot that you can do. you are spokespeople people when you go back to your homes, to societies. You can just simply decide that you'll do a birthday celebration where you're going to be conscious of the paper cuttings that you use, the cards that you make, the wrappers that you use. You could just be conscious of, going to your friend's birthday and giving him an upcycled gift or a
Yeah.
recycled gift or a gift with that is wrapped in a newspaper. So I don't think that there's anyone that comes to a conscious level, a mental conscious level, that cannot contribute to the SDGs. Everybody can. The idea is you'll only contribute when you're aware. So, what are we doing as society, as institutions, to make you aware? So, I think everybody can contribute.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel too small to change anything. So how do you know your actions can actually matter and then they can play a big
In
step?
your case, it's easy because when you know that a podcast is watched by, let's say, 10,000 people, it's already measured as to what the impact you've made. And if you take an average percentage of the people that have watched you, of the 10,000 percentage, you know that even if 5% have made a change in their life, or they become conscious of SDGs, you made an impact. So I think many a times it'll be difficult for you to measure your impact at this age. But remember that you have to walk as a testimony of life. If you walk as what am I taking from it today? I'm taking from it today is your testimony of you being so young and yet talking about sustainable development goals. So I think that you're not young enough to make an impact. You could be compliant in a lot of ways, but you're absolutely able
Make it.
to use the resources that you have in knowledge, in wisdom, in education to be a propeller, right,
Yeah.
for the awareness of SDGs.
I will keep that in mind. Next time I do something, I will know my actions matter.
Yes.
So I often heard the word CSR, corporate social responsibility. So what does it actually mean and why is it so important?
You know, it is important for a lot of reasons because the idea that it came out from was that corporates should have a social responsibility.
Yeah.
But it doesn't come by signing checks. That is not how you contribute. The way that you contribute is that you have to really align yourself as a corporate with one socially responsible act.
Yeah.
And whatever you get as a surplus that you're putting in the CSR as per the law of the land, you need to really see that it gets to the last mile and it implements it. So, for example, that I don't name a company here, but let's say some ABC company, and they manufacture, let's say, mugs,
Mugs.
right? And they have an X amount of money. Now, there are two ways they could do it. They have to be socially responsible. The law of the land says that once they have an X amount of turnover, and they could do that, but they could just do it because they have to do it, and then they are not going to really make an impact. But if there's a consciousness within the board members that we are going to choose to
Make a
spread the
difference and spread
awareness,
awareness.
yes, on gender equality, on women empowerment, because a mug is used both by the husband and the wife with equal weight without any difference, right? In the morning when they're sipping a cup of tea, it's the same. It doesn't have a different weight or a different style because you're a female gender. Then that deliberate decision by the board that is taken will definitely contribute towards CSR. So CSR is important. It is important for board members to choose an agenda on the CSR that they can really passionately contribute to,
Contribute. Yeah.
not just fulfill an agenda. Because if you're fulfilling an agenda, then you're not really being true. Because we're talking about SDGs, it's important that each of these corporates align their activities to an SDG awareness, to the larger awareness of SDGs but also choose something that represents one of the SDGs, and I'm sure they'll find, because everything comes under the 17 goals.
Yeah, now I understand that CSR is not just about companies generating money, it can also be about action and long term impact.
Yes, and you, unless until that giving of or the signing of the check is creating an impact, you're not really doing justice.
Yeah. So, in your TED talk, you had said that there are 17 SDGs, and behind each one, there is a story. Like the fisherman who didn't throw plastic in the sea. So, let's do a fun activity. I'll give you a bowl with chits number to 1 to 17. Can you choose three and give us a story behind it?
Okay, let's see what I have. So what I have is goal number 4. So apt, because I'm speaking to somebody who represents schools. Um, so the way I'll let's do this activity in a different way. I'll tell you a story also, but I also tell you the impact of this on me. I think that will be more relevant because people would want to know this. So quality education is, as it says, is basic, that every child should get. Not just so, it's the important aspect is the word before education. It's not about giving education, it's about giving quality education, right? In my life, why did I feel that this is the first goal I worked on? Because I felt that unless and until we have a foundation of education, we cannot do anything. So I said this. This was another story that I shared in my TEDx. This is the first container school that we did in Kusmi Jungle in Gorakhpur. And this is a shipping container that is remodeled and it's put in to serve as an early child education center. So we did a survey of families that were there, and
Okay.
we got to meet lots of families, many that didn't want to send the children for school education for whatever reason that they had. And then I met this. I saw this child coming, and I saw that he wasn't wearing any slippers. So I asked him. I just went up to him. I said, "Ki," and I could see that he was hesitant in coming to the crowd that we were interviewing and getting them to come to school. So I said, "अच्छा, अगर मैं तुमको चप्पल दूंगा तो कल स्कूल आओगे?" So he looked at me, and he must have been. I mean, he looked like he would probably be in grade 3 or grade 4. And he said कि तो हमने
खाना
कहा पढ़ने
खिलाओगे?
आओगे तुम? हाँ. And he said कि खाना खिलाओगे तो पढ़ने आऊँगा. So while I was trying to carry out goal number 4, I didn't realize that I was also addressing poverty. So one goal always leads into another one. And of course, the story ended with the fact that he was enrolled. That question made us introduce a midday meal in that school. Now, when we did the midday meal, we also realized that if we were to get a packaged food and give it to those children, that wasn't really resonating with them. So what we did was that we asked the mothers and the sisters of the families in the village to come, and we said, you take turns to cook the food that will be served to them as a midday meal. So they knew that the person cooking the food was either their sister or their aunt or their mother or their grandmother, and they was also giving them occupation. They were also becoming a part of the education system, and we were able to impart education. So my first goal that I worked on was goal number 4.
Yeah.
Not because I came from education segment, because I thought this is the foundation. Now there's always been a big debate that whether the priorities are right in the way the goals are till 17. So there have been a lot of schools of thoughts that said the first goal should not be this, the second should not be this, the fourth should not be this, but it's our own perspective to see whether goal number 4 should be 4 or should be goal number 1. But it's up to what you choose as your priority, that
Yeah.
you can use your skill sets to to get a child like Ramesh to come to school, who eventually came to school, and I'm sure he's in high school now.
Yeah. So let's get to the next one.
So the next one is SDG 13, which, as you know, is climate
In
action.
action. Yeah.
So let me tell you that when I began this exercise, my family was far much more sustainable in their lifestyle than I was. And I would often be checked, whether it was running water when I was shaving, or whether it was always calling my staff that put the AC on before I would get,
Back home.
home, um, without realizing the impact. So in our campus, and I'll give you a good example. I hate walking. I
Yeah.
just hate walking. I don't know why, but that's one thing I feel very lethargic to do. Out of the two things, is one is go to the gym, and there is walk. But when it is a good weather and we have a beautiful campus, very recently I strolled out at night. It was about post dinner, 9:30, and I had my dog that his name is Rio, a golden retriever,
Oh yeah.
and he would play around me, and we walking on the lawn, and suddenly I felt कि अंधेरा बहुत है, so I called up, I shouted for the guard and I said, बत्तियाँ क्यों बुझी हैं, तुम बत्ती क्यों बुझा दिया, and it was like a normal conversation with them. And he came and said that, सर वो दो बत्ती जली हुई है और वो बाकी बत्तियाँ हमने बुझा दी, मैम ने मना किया है बत्ती जलाने के लिए. And I stood there realizing that the campus and that road on which I walk wasn't looking as beautiful. But I also realized that for that one momentarily half an hour or 20-minute walk with Rio, the darkness or the various lamps or the bench lights or the gate lights that were not looking so beautiful for that 20 minutes would have an impact for a lifetime.
Yeah.
And for the momentarily darkness, I wouldn't want to make the future dark, right? So that's what I picked up, and I stood there and I just felt, that he made so much of sense to what he was saying. And then, which was not a part of his instruction, he told me, पर सर ये बत्ती जली हुई पीछे की और ये भी जली हुई पीछे आगे की. And I immediately knew that the guard was aware that there was enough light for me to walk. Not in a decorative way, not aesthetically, but that he
Enough
also
light, yeah.
enough light for me to walk. So I think that's a lesson that I learned.
Everyone has lessons to
And
learn from.
everybody, and again, it's a day-to-day thing. You keep learning. It's a high learning curve. Everything that you see, every shop that you see, every time that you go to a barista and you hear the cold coffee you made in the mixie, and then you see the lid coming up that shuts the voice, which cancels noise pollution, or you sit in a car and you realize that this has, or a headphone, for example, for your age, and you choose a headphone that has noise cancellation. What do you mean? These are the ordinary choices. Each of them is contributing in some way to the climate.
Yeah.
And we don't realize it many times. But as I said earlier, and as you rightly said in my TEDx that I said,
Find
it's
dignity in
giving dignity to the normal aspects of life.
Yeah. So let's get to the next
Yep.
SDG.
Very apt. Partnership for the goals.
Very important.
Very important. SDG 17. What are you and I doing here? We're basically building up a partnership. What are other people doing here? If you wanted to record this and you said, sir, can you come over? And I said, I would. Would we, how many people have we involved just practically in putting this story across, right? There's the lights, there's the people behind the camera. So unless you have this participation, the only difference here is this has to be a participation in compassion. There has to be the passion of doing, of the greener tomorrow that has to be, but without participation, you cannot do anything. So let's talk about the various association that you have. What is United Nations? It is a participation of the
yeah.
countries. What is a Commonwealth Nations? It's a participation of 53 countries. What is the United States or the United Kingdom or India? It's a participation,
Partnership.
cooperation of various states in a state system that come in under a central government. So this goal, 17, I don't really have a specific story, but what I leave this thought with is that unless you stitch it together with goal number 17, none of these goals can work in silos and achieve anything. You cannot do anything alone that will, become a tide or a wave
You have
that
to
you
have
can
partnership.
ride. So you have to have participation. Like in life, relationships. What is relationship is also part of participation. So the cumulative societal force is required in a bond of partnership for us to achieve the goals of SDGs.
So we have to stay united in partnership.
Yes, we have to stay united in partnership. We have to be united. Just because you use the word united, when I first started working with with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, I always used to relate it to the United Colors of Benetton, because I just saw the synergy between both, if I might call them both, the brands and the project behind. It represented, the unity in diversity, which is India as well. So we have to be united to the cause. Goal number 17 puts it together.
So now for the next question, if every child listening could take one small action towards sustainability starting from tomorrow, what should it be?
There's, again, as I said earlier to you, there are lots of simple exercises that any of you could do. But as of now, I feel that plastics is a very, very big issue. And that is something that can be contributed. Each of you, whether it's your tiffin boxes, your pencil boxes, your water bottles, whether it's going to cinemas and malls, plastic disposable glasses, any of these things that plastic rulers that you use, any of these things that if you could, every child could start being say no, I'm not going to use this. It will make a
Huge
huge
difference.
difference. Because if we look at the plastic consumption in schools, in these four items, it's humongous. So if every child, imagine every child in India, tells their parents, we will not use
Plastic.
plastics. No mama, no papa, no to plastics, right? Imagine the difference that we can make. So I think that is the biggest call that I would say, that may every school become a plastic free zone, and may every child in this country or wherever that you can reach out to says no to any use of plastic.
Plastic.
Yeah.
I am definitely going to try that. And for everyone listening, do participate and tag me in your IG stories. What's the proudest moment of your journey so far that made you feel that, yes, this is why I'm doing all this?
I think there could be lots of stories, but I think that on a very small note, I feel that sustainability or sustainable goals is a seed. And if I'm able to leave a conversation with the seed of awareness, I feel proud about it. So if somebody walks into my office, be it a parent, be it a student, be it a teacher, be it a friend, and if they leave my office, I always wonder what is the impact that I have left on them. Whether it's through a motivational story, whether it's something that I shared with them, whether it's an instruction I gave to them and I made them realize the impact of the instruction, where I gave them a folder, and whether that was a sustainable folder or a plastic folder, whether I was using a sustainable pen or something when I signed, or I gifted a child who came to seek my blessing because it was birthday, and I gave something to him. I think each of these moments, put a string of moments that make me happy within. I wouldn't use the word proud, but happy within, that I was able to plant a seed of sustainable awareness that
We
I'm
all can
sure,
plant that one seed.
yes, that I'm sure will fructify with his maturity and awareness in the times to come.
Yeah, that must have been such a special journey for you, and that I would love to have like a moment like that to me too. That I have made a difference, and that I've planted one seed too.
Yeah, but on that note, you must know that you being you today and having me as a guest on your podcast, you've already planted the seed in me that you can make a change, or a child like you can make a change, or an
Right.
age like you can make a change, or a voice like you can make a change.
So I have a fun game to play with you, and it's called Would You Rather. Are you ready?
Mhm.
So would you rather plant one tree every day for life, or start one SDG school in every city in the world?
I think a tree is more that I'll do. And also, I must tell you that this year I've decided that all the new admission that come into St. Paul's, I'm going to plant a tree for every new admission. So that if I get 500 kids, 500 trees, so I would choose the tree.
So would you rather live in a world with zero hunger or zero pollution?
I think zero hunger, because also to times that we have grown up, we have seen so many countries and so many things, deficits that have happened because of hunger.
Would you rather spend one day with kids in villages or with the Prime Minister?
Of course, villages, because uh, uh, I just connect to the roots that way.
Would you rather change the education system first or the climate system?
Well, I think it'll have to be the education system, because unless until you make somebody aware, you cannot ask them to make a difference on climate.
Yeah, because every time I step out, I only see pollution and traffic everywhere. It makes me wonder that a city like Delhi, so big and polluted, how can it ever be sustainable? But now I've gotten my answer.
Yes, and remember, everything comes to leadership. There are lots of things that Delhi has tried, and we've seen that some have worked. But yes, would it not be good that not just Gorakhpur, not just Delhi, not just India, but every city aims, aspires to become SDG aware? I am
Yeah.
saying aware and not compliant, because unless until you become aware, you can't become compliant.
So today I learned that SDGs are not just some boring UN goals, but they're actually life goals. From kids to big leaders, from schools to countries,
Yes.
everyone has a role to play. Thank you so much for opening my eyes and making me understand that even my tiny steps can matter.
Yes, every step matters. And it's been amazing to hear your passion, to know your passion. And I wish you all the best to
Thank you,
become a
sir. Thank you, sir.
sustainable champion of tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.